Most men go through life with a blind spot, thinking they know what women want, when in truth, they're missing something deeper. It's not about being charming. It's not about being attractive. What women truly crave is rarely spoken out loud. And they won't hand you the answer. You have to become it. Let's get honest for a second. What if everything you've learned about love was based on comfort, not truth? What if love isn't earned by having a perfect smile, sending the right texts, or sitting around waiting for fate to deliver the right woman? Here's the truth. Love doesn't land by accident. It finds men who are ready, not just emotionally, but mentally, spiritually, and deeply grounded in who they are becoming. See, the kind of connection you're searching for, it's not won by luck. It's built. And it's built through one rare skill that most men never even consider, let alone master. So why do good men, men with heart, discipline, and the right intentions, keep getting passed over or stuck in relationships that feel empty? Maybe it's not about bad timing. Maybe it's not that the right woman hasn't appeared. Maybe, just maybe, it's about becoming a man she recognizes on a soul level, a man she can feel before he speaks. Picture this, a man in his 30s or 40s, watching his friends settle down, scrolling past pictures of proposals, babies and anniversaries, wondering silently, why not me? He's patient. He's hopeful. He tells himself to trust the process. But the silence gets louder. The doubt creeps in. And slowly, he begins to wonder if love just isn't in the cards. But deep down, he knows the truth. It's not the world. It's not women. It's him. Not broken, but not yet built. Waiting doesn't mean standing still. True waiting is active. It's preparation. It's discipline. It's showing up for yourself in private long before anyone applauds you in public. This is where most men stop, caught in the tension between who they are now and the man they could become. But this space? This is where legends are made. It's the man who chooses focus over excuses, growth over comfort, structure over chaos. And the truth most men miss? You're not waiting for love. Love is waiting for you. Not for the loudest man in the room, not for the smoothest talker, but for the one who has mastered the art that truly moves her. Emotional strength, spiritual leadership, internal order. The kind of presence that doesn't chase, it anchors. So ask yourself quietly, honestly, are you becoming the man she's been praying for but hasn't met yet? Because becoming that man isn't optional anymore. If you want to be unforgettable, it's the price of admission. So ask yourself, are you growing? Are you rising? Or are you still waiting for something you haven't yet become ready to hold? They told you love is a reward, a blessing you receive if you behave well enough, wait long enough, or wish hard enough. That if you keep your heart clean, stay out of trouble, and silently endure your loneliness, then maybe, just maybe, life will reward you with romance. But that's a lie, a comforting story for the passive. Because real love is not a prize. And the man who waits in silence, hoping life will hand it to him, he's already behind. Let's be brutally honest. Why do so many men suffer quietly in love? Why do they keep attracting confusion, betrayal, disconnection? Is it really just bad timing? Or is it that many of us are asking for a kind of love we haven't become strong enough to carry? I remember a man like that. Maybe you know someone like him. Maybe you are him. He was intelligent, kind. On the surface, everything looked fine. But inside he was tired. Tired of being overlooked. Tired of seeing love slip past him again and again. He tried to fill that void with temporary connection. He scrolled. He distracted himself. He kept saying, I'm ready. But his life whispered the truth. He wasn't. He wanted loyalty, depth, devotion, but he hadn't built the structure to hold any of it. He had no emotional spine, no vision beyond today. And so every woman he met felt it, not consciously, but energetically. A quiet disappointment. Because women don't want to build a home inside a man who hasn't even cleaned his own soul. Here's the hard truth. Desperation doesn't make love grow. It kills it. Desperation is not romantic. It's repellent. When a man seeks love from emptiness, he doesn't invite trust. He triggers fear, pity, and distance. Real attraction isn't loud. It doesn't beg or chase. It walks with quiet gravity. It shows up with self-respect. It radiates discipline and internal wealth. A woman doesn't give her heart to the man who pleads for it. She gives it to the man who doesn't need to ask, because he's already full. Marriage isn't a reward for being nice. It's not a trophy for making it through loneliness. It's a covenant. It's a test of your emotional maturity, of your spiritual readiness, of your inner structure. You don't just stumble into a great relationship. You must become the kind of man who can hold one when it arrives. So stop asking, when will love find me? Ask instead, will I be ready when it does? Because love is never just about what you feel. It's about who you are when it finds you. So stop chasing people to fix the wounds you refuse to face. Stop blaming timing, luck, or other people's blindness. Start building, start refining, start becoming. Because here's the truth you can't unhear. You don't attract what you wish for, you attract what you are. And if you don't like what's coming into your life, change what's growing inside of you. Because no woman dreams of a man who waits. She dreams of a man who's rising. Most men don't fail in love because they're unworthy of it. They fail because they're chasing something they haven't yet become strong enough to carry. Love isn't luck. It's not some magic you stumble into. It's a responsibility, a weight, a fire that only the prepared can hold without getting burned. Until you understand this, you'll keep running after connections that collapse. Not because they were fake, but because you weren't ready to hold them. So, let me ask you something. If love showed up today, deep love, covenant love, the kind that demands everything from you, could you carry it? Would your habits, your discipline, your emotional maturity, your spiritual spine be strong enough to protect it? Or would you sabotage it in silence like so many before you? That's the hard truth. Relationships rarely die because of timing. They die because of character. Because broken men keep trying to build unbreakable bonds without first healing what's fractured inside themselves. I once spoke to a man who had prayed for years to find a wife. Every Sunday he stood at the altar asking God to send her. But outside the church he lived passively. He lacked focus. He carried bitterness. And he feared change more than he feared loneliness. When a good woman finally appeared, a woman with depth and patience, he crushed the relationship beneath the weight of his own insecurity. He didn't mean to. He just wasn't ready. Because love cannot survive in a man who hasn't made space for it to breathe. Here's what most men refuse to admit. Desperation is not romantic. It's a warning sign. A man who begs for love announces to the world that he hasn't yet learned to stand on his own. And when you can't stand alone, you lean too heavily on the one you say you love. And one day they break under that pressure. Real attraction isn't chasing. It isn't manipulation or performance. It's magnetism, the quiet kind, the kind that comes from competence, from inner abundance, from a man who no longer needs love to feel worthy, but attracts it because he's already whole. The shift begins here. You have to stop treating marriage like some cosmic lottery. Stop acting like it's a prize someone randomly wins or a battlefield you need to survive. It's not luck. It's readiness. It's discipline. It's personal responsibility. God doesn't hand blessings to men who haven't prepared their hands to hold them. So, let me say this. Stop waiting for someone to rescue you. Stop praying for a love that you haven't become strong enough to sustain. Stop chasing approval to numb the ache you refuse to confront. Start growing. Start building. Start stretching into the man love can actually breathe inside of, because here's the mic drop truth. Love doesn't ask, have you waited long enough? It asks, have you become someone worth walking beside? Love is not about finding the right person. It's about becoming the right person, so that when love arrives, you don't sabotage it with insecurity. You don't fumble it with passivity. You don't kill it with fear. We live in a world obsessed with timing, but painfully unaware of preparation. Everyone wants the blessing. Few want to become the kind of man who can carry it. That's why relationships fall apart, because people confuse patience with passivity. Divine timing is not a green light to sit still. It's a call to movement, a call to transformation, to hard, honest preparation. Let me ask you a brutal question. If love showed up right now, would you recognize it? Would you know how to hold it? Would your soul be steady enough to stay present with it? Or would your unhealed wounds make you blind to what you say you desire? I've seen this too many times. People pray, people fast, people journal about their dream partner, but they never do the inner work to actually be ready, like the story in Matthew 25. The foolish bridesmaids had lamps, but no oil. They looked prepared, but they weren't. So, when the moment came, they missed what was meant for them. And that happens every day. In real life, I knew a woman, beautiful, deeply spiritual. She wrote lists, prayed daily, believed God would send her a husband, and maybe he did. One day, a good man appeared, patient, purposeful, devoted, but he didn't look like the man from her fantasy. He wasn't packaged the way she expected. So she missed him, dismissed him, and kept waiting. Not because God was late, but because she hadn't cleared her vision. She hadn't confronted her wounds. She had done the spiritual rituals, but skipped the emotional restoration. Here's what most people don't want to admit. Desperation clouds judgment. Preparation clarifies it. Until you've done the internal work to become discerning, you will either chase illusions or reject the very blessing you once begged for. So stop asking, when will love come? And start asking, will I be ready when it does? Marriage is not a medal for survival. It's not a trophy for enduring years of loneliness. Marriage is a sacred responsibility. It demands not just desire but preparation, not just love but strength. It calls for emotional stability, for wisdom that doesn't waver when tested, and for resilience, the kind that doesn't collapse at the first sign of discomfort. You don't become worthy of love by sitting still. You become worthy by becoming whole. So here is your wake-up call. Patience doesn't mean waiting in silence. Patience is active. It means digging deep, healing wounds you'd rather ignore, building the kind of life someone else can feel safe inside. You grow, you stretch, you evolve. And when the right person comes, you're not begging them to fix you. You're standing beside them as an equal. Because here's what you need to understand. The blessing you want, it's already scheduled. But whether you get to hold it or miss it entirely will depend on who you become in the meantime. Most people think they're searching for love, but they're not. They're searching for validation. They want to be chosen not for who they are, but because they don't know how to choose themselves. That's why their love stories collapse. Not because of cruelty, but because they built it on need, not on strength. So, let me ask you something raw. If we removed the loneliness, if we took away the fear, if society never pressured you to find someone, would you still want love? Or would you realize that all along it wasn't love you were chasing? It was a distraction from what you refused to heal. I once knew a man who was brilliant, kind, but he had a hollow space inside him, too big to ignore, and he believed the right woman would fill it. So he chased love the way a starving man chases crumbs. He tolerated disrespect. He lowered his standards. He tried to earn love with effort, instead of becoming the kind of man love is drawn to. And every time it ended in resentment, rejection, regret, not because women were cruel, but because his energy shouted, "I need you to fix me." And that is not love. That is emotional dependency in disguise. Here's the truth. Desperation repels healthy love. It smells like fear. It signals that you want to take, not give. No one wants to be consumed by someone else's unhealed wounds. No woman wants to be your emotional crutch. Real attraction doesn't beg to be seen. It doesn't manipulate. It doesn't perform. It walks in quietly, fully grounded, fully whole. And that presence, it changes everything. Because when you enter a room already knowing your worth, love doesn't feel like rescue. It feels like alignment. Not something you chase, something you choose. The shift you must make isn't loud. It isn't flashy, but it changes everything. Stop asking, where is my person? Start asking, am I becoming the kind of person who deserves the kind of love I say I want? Because real love, lasting love, doesn't come to the one who simply shows up. It comes to the one who has become worthy of a covenant, not just a companion. Marriage in its truest form is not a reward for endurance. It's not given because you waited long enough. It's entrusted to the man who has earned it through growth, humility, and sacrifice. It demands that you be able to carry not just someone else's heart, but your own. That you be willing to grow when blame feels easier. That you face the mirror before pointing the finger. So, here's your challenge. Stop waiting for someone to pull you out of your shadows. Stop chasing validation in the arms of people who barely love themselves. Instead, become whole, so grounded in your identity, so rooted in your purpose, so unapologetically stable that love doesn't feel like oxygen. It feels like alignment, because here's what no one tells you. You don't attract what you fantasize about. You attract what you are. And if you don't like what keeps showing up in your life, it's time to stop blaming timing and start confronting who you've been. Most people don't fail at love because love doesn't exist. They fail because they believe someone else will fix what only self-respect, discipline, and truth can heal. They want love to be the antidote to loneliness. They want connection to erase what they refuse to face. But here's the piercing question. If love arrived right now, if God answered your prayer today, would you be the kind of man she's been praying for? Or would your wounds reject her presence? Would your fear misread her calm? Would your immaturity push away what your soul cried for? You see, we romanticize the idea of destiny, the fantasy of the one, someone who will magically undo our insecurities. But that's not love. That's emotional escapism. Because when you wait in bitterness, when you wait without becoming, you don't just miss the blessing. You won't even recognize it when it arrives. I once knew a woman, beautiful, intelligent, spiritual. She had a vision for love, a long list of what she wanted in a man. And she prayed and waited and watched everyone else fall in love. She thought, why not me? But here's what she didn't realize. She hadn't become the woman she needed to be. She fed her impatience more than her faith. She nurtured her bitterness more than her growth. So when a good man came, patient, honest, steady, she couldn't see him. He didn't match her fantasy. He wasn't packaged the way her pain demanded. And so she stayed waiting, not because the universe was cruel, but because her heart had not been cleared. Here's the truth. Most avoid desperation corrodes your discernment. It makes you settle. It makes you grasp. It makes you sabotage. But real attraction, lasting attraction, it begins when you no longer need someone to complete you. It begins when you bring your full self to the table. Not your wounds, not your fear, not your unfinished story. You whole, healed, present. Because from that place, love isn't something you chase. It's something you choose, and it chooses you back. Marriage is not a trophy for enduring loneliness. It is not given to the one who waits the longest. It is given to the one who grows the deepest. It demands maturity, integrity, and daily discipline. Not just the wish to be loved, but the readiness to give love that heals, not harms. Stop fantasizing about the right one. Start becoming the kind of man the right one can recognize. Be grounded in your identity. Be rooted in values that do not shift with emotion. Be so stable within yourself that when love arrives, it finds not a desperate soul reaching for rescue, but a whole man ready to build. A man ready to create a legacy to protect, to lead, to love with strength. Because love is not hiding. It is watching, waiting, hoping you rise to meet it. So rise. Become who you were praying to become, not tomorrow. Now, if this message sparked something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel and join a movement of men rising with clarity. And drop this in the comments. I choose to become the man love is waiting for. See you in the next video.